Julia, a 24-year-old, returned home in a bad mood after a long day at the clinic where she works as a nurse. She felt disheartened by the monotony of her work and the lack of camaraderie in the work environment. Returning home late one autumn night, she encountered a needy young man in the subway. Despite his unkempt appearance, Julia felt empathy for him and decided to help him. She invited him to her home with the idea of presenting him as her fiancé to avoid criticism from her mother. Despite initial doubts, the young man accepted Julia's offer, and together they embarked on a new path towards understanding and solidarity. Julia's mother's reaction upon seeing the young man at home was not as expected, as she had her own concerns and expectations for her daughter's future. Disheveled clothes, unwashed hair, the same dirty clothes. Her face reflected a mix of emotions, from surprise to indignation. Julia tried to maintain her composure as she introduced her mother to her fiancé Miguel. "Mom, this is Miguel, my fiancé. He and I are going to live here now, as he has nowhere else to stay. Do you mind?" Julia asked with a smile. Then, turning to Miguel, she invited him in and to make himself at home. Despite the mother's disapproval, Julia tried to make Miguel feel welcome. After a hearty dinner, Julia helped Miguel settle into his room, making sure he was comfortable. Grateful, Miguel felt comforted by Julia's kindness. Over time, their relationship grew stronger, and they shared pleasant moments together. As their mutual affection grew, they realized they were truly in love. Despite Julia's mother's doubts, Miguel proved to be a constant support in the home. However, Julia's mother did not approve of the relationship and threatened to reveal the truth to a wealthy suitor of Julia's. Faced with this situation, Miguel felt devastated and decided to leave to avoid causing more trouble. When Julia returned home and discovered that Miguel had gone, she expressed her frustration to her mother. The mother tried to justify herself, but Julia defended her love for Miguel and set out to find him. "The vagabond left on his own. I didn't touch him. I won't cry for him personally. You fell in love and you will fall out of love. Maybe after the third time you'll find a decent fiancé. Stop bringing all kinds of garbage here." Julia was surprised. She knew Miguel couldn't just leave like that. Everything was fine. "It's me, so I can already imagine what my mother said about me. Where will I find Miguel now? I can't do it without him." Hoping to find Miguel again and explain everything to him, Julia turned around from the doorway and ran towards the passageway where they had first met. She asked the other vagabonds and street vendors, but they just shrugged. They hadn't seen the man around for a long time. The girl ran on the outskirts for over an hour, wondering if Miguel hadn't gone far yet and was waiting for her somewhere nearby, but it was all in vain. The man had disappeared. Suddenly she also felt very hurt. Why did he do that? Why didn't he wait for her and talk to her properly? He said he loved her, but did he leave her forever? Did he believe all those nonsense so he was just using her? It was pouring rain outside, and the gusts of wind were tearing the last leaves off the tree, but Julia didn't notice anything. She wandered, unable to distinguish the way, soaked to the bone and sobbing inconsolably. Maybe my mother is right and I really am some kind of imperfect person. Stupid. Maybe I should say to hell with love. Who needs it when it makes you cry? You can't trust anyone. In the end, Julia was cold, soaked, and very sick. For 3 weeks she had a high fever, barely alive. In her delirium, she kept screaming Miguel's name, calling him, searching for him. Julia fell into a deep depression. She went to work like a robot. When she got home, she immediately locked herself in her room and sobbed until morning. She didn't eat well, so she lost a lot of weight. After a month, she started vomiting a lot, literally vomiting inside. Julia was a medical professional, and she realized it right away. She was pregnant. The situation was a nightmare. The father of the baby was a vagabond who had run away from her in an unknown direction. Her mother could barely tolerate her, and if she found out about the pregnancy, she wouldn't allow her to live at all. She would mistreat her. What was she going to do? How to keep on living? And above all, why didn't Julia know? Now she went every day in the morning and in the afternoon to the same intersection as to work, hoping to see Miguel there again. Once she even thought she recognized him from behind, shouting cheerfully, "Miguel, my love, I finally found you." But a complete stranger turned to her and responded surprised, "I'm not Miguel. You're mistaken." Desperate, Julia decided to do something irreparable. She saw no other way with a child under her heart, and so all the problems would be solved at once, out of sight, out of mind. She went to the gynecologist. They did the necessary tests. They let her in without waiting in line as a nurse. When she was already lying in the chair, and a strict doctor, who was obviously judging her, took out all the necessary instruments. Suddenly, a terrible thought struck her. What am I doing? I'm going to kill Miguel's baby. It's part of him, his blood and flesh. This baby will remind me of my dearest person all my life. How am I supposed to live? That's the meaning of life. To hell with all of them. The mother, Miguel himself, and the wicked colleagues who openly mocked her. I don't care. I'll give birth to it and raise it myself. Come hell or high water. Julia abruptly pushed the stunned doctor aside. She got up from the chair and said, "I'm sorry. I've changed my mind." The gynecologist breathed a sigh of relief. Thank God. Julia came home after work and immediately smelled fried fish. She barely had time to cover her mouth with her hand and run to the bathroom. She spent half an hour hunched over the toilet. The alarmed mother listened under the door, suspecting the worst. She shouted, "Daughter, are you sick? Are you poisoned? Open the door. It's not what I think, is it?" Finally, Julia felt better and, exhausted, went out into the hallway. Her mother fell silent, looking at her reproachfully, waiting for an explanation. The tired woman angrily shouted in her mother's face, "Yes, mother, I'm pregnant. Imagine that. How silly. And it's Miguel's. And you drove him away. Now your grandson will never know who his father is. I hope you're happy. It's not what you wanted. I'm not going to have an abortion. You don't even have to mention it. Leave me alone. I need to rest." And she ran to her room, sobbing. Ximena clutched her heart and went to the kitchen to take some sedative pills. She mentally scolded her daughter. How foolish. She's judging love, repeating my fate. Stupid. At least, kill me. Steps on the same rake. And now what? To engender poverty again. I barely raised her. I thought I would have some peace in my old age. And now, we're going to raise a fatherless grandson. From that day on, Julie and her mother had almost stopped talking to each other. She withdrew into herself and didn't leave her room. She tried not to cry. When it was absolutely impossible, she started to caress her belly and softly sing a lullaby or talk to the baby. Strangely enough, this helped, and she began to calm down and fall asleep. Ximena regretted 1,000 times lying about her daughter and driving Miguel away. He really wasn't a bad man. He wasn't a drinker. He was a good provider, and he loved Julia very much. It was evident at first sight. He would have gotten his papers and a job and would have been a good husband and father to my daughter. And what? I'm ashamed to say that my daughter is pregnant by a vagabond who ran off somewhere. Oh, the neighbors will laugh. It was scary to look at Julia. The protagonist experienced frequent episodes of stomach discomfort. Her appetite was significantly reduced. In her work environment, some colleagues made unpleasant comments and jokes about her situation. Rumors circulated about a secret pregnancy and the unknown father. The medical staff, especially the gynecologist Ramon Reyes, provided the protagonist with kind and comforting care. Despite the gossip and hurtful comments, the doctor always encouraged her and offered support. In the face of the protagonist's distress, the gynecologist comforted her with kind gestures and words of encouragement. He reminded her of the importance of taking care of herself and staying calm, encouraging her to connect with her baby. As the pregnancy progressed, the protagonist faced uncertainty and loneliness. Despite the difficulties, the gynecologist offered her unconditional support and reminded her that she could always count on him. The relationship between mother and daughter was going through a tense and secretive moment. The mother, feeling guilty, sought ways to reconcile with her daughter. One day, a misunderstanding led to an emotional encounter between them, where they finally opened up and embraced, releasing the weight of guilt and miscommunication. Together, they found solace and hope in the arrival of the baby, strengthening their family bond. Julia felt much better mentally now that she knew her mother was with her, supporting her. She could tell her what was bothering her, what was worrying her. Yet, as night fell, Julia became sad, melancholic, tears welled up and choked her. She remembered how Miguel and she had sat together on the couch, watching a police soap opera, and then had fallen asleep in each other's arms. She gently stroked his shoulders, his hair, whispered words of love to him. "Oh, Miguel, how could you? Where are you now? Perhaps you wander the world and have long forgotten me. How could you? Did you believe it? You will never know that you are going to have a child. These thoughts swirled around in my head, tearing my soul apart. But soon something happened that shook the whole town and turned Julia's life upside down. That day she had a premonition all morning. Something was stirring in her soul. Her heart was racing. She kept mixing everything up in her mind and couldn't understand what was happening to her. The tests almost confused the patient and then almost led the wrong patient to x-rays. The head nurse scolded Julia all day. What's wrong with you? Get a grip after all. What will happen before childbirth? If you're already in the clouds, think about work. When Julia returned home from her shift, a caravan of several luxurious black limousines stopped in front of the house. Jimena was watering the physiar flowers and was taken aback. Look, daughter, what important people have come to see someone? I've only seen cars like that in movies. I wonder who it's for. I don't think any rich person lives in our house. Suddenly the doorbell rang. Surprised, Jimena went to open the door. On the threshold stood 3 bodyguards and a respectable, well-dressed young man. He smiled and asked, "Good afternoon. Is Julia here? May I come in?" The bewildered woman nodded and silently let the important visitors in. The visitors entered the foyer, and Julia came to meet them. Suddenly, this young and elegant man ran towards her and threw himself into her arms. He was very excited. "Hello, my love. Here I am. I'm Miguel. Are you happy? I'm back." To the man's surprise, Julia pushed him away and shouted, "Miguel, why did you decide to come back suddenly? You abandoned me so easily, believing what my mother had told you. You didn't even bother to talk to me in person, to find out if it was true or not. Where have you been all this time? In space? On the moon? Why did you never let me know about you? What is this limousine charade? Or was it then the charade in the image of a vagabond? Who are you?" The man looked saddened, sat on the couch, ordered the bodyguards to leave the room, and began to speak. "Don't get worked up, darling. Please don't shout. Just listen to everything, please. Yes, you're right. I'm not a vagabond. I'm the son of Millionaire Crespo. You must have heard of him. We have 2 airlines abroad. Anyway, I grew up, of course, in luxury and wealth. I went to an elite public school. Then I graduated from the University of Economics in England. I thought I had my whole life ahead of me, that it was wonderful and incredible. I felt like I was wearing rose-colored glasses. And suddenly, I'm losing my mother. And this, despite the fact that she carefully monitored her health, was examined in the best clinics, and led a completely healthy lifestyle. Can you imagine? She got out of her car and headed to the supermarket, and there a drunk driver ran her over to death. It was a terrible blow for our whole family. I vaguely remember the funeral. It seemed like nothing was happening to me. At first, Dad was very distressed. He and I had somehow bonded. It was easier to go through such mourning together. But my father surprised me when, 6 months after my mother's death, he brought that hateful stepmother, Camila, into our house. I didn't get along with her from the start. She had the audacity to behave in our house, throwing my mother's things, taking her photo, even though I had expressly forbidden it. The result was a wild scandal. I thought my father would support me, but he didn't. He sided with that scum and gave me an ultimatum. Either I accepted her or I left. It was unheard of. To kick his own son out of the house for a hateful woman. I couldn't communicate with my father. It was as if he was running away from me. It was as if Camilla had cast a spell on him. So I got angry and ran away from home. But it turned out I was not at all suited to street life. What had I seen before? A luxurious life, high society, everything in abundance. I had no idea that people could die of hunger, search for food in the dump, or sleep in heating pipes. To me, they were drunks and the scum of society. I was so scared. I went back and forth, back and forth. I was a fool. I didn't even take my papers from home. I then realized, after communicating with many homeless people, that half of them were ordinary people, often educated and cultured with a twist of fate. Meeting you, Julia, was the brightest episode of my vagabond life. When Jimena kicked me out, I ran angrily to the train station. I got on a passing train and went 300 kilometers away. I was there, begging near the station, as usual, when suddenly my father's caravan picked me up right there. It turned out that Dad got very sick. He caught a cold and went to the hospital with pneumonia. The doctors could barely save him. So, his fibrous lover immediately started distributing millions behind his back, rubbing her hands. She never visited him in the hospital. That's when my father remembered he had a son. He felt ashamed, decided to look for me, and apologize. We had a good relationship until Camilla arrived and we got along well. Despite everything, my father and I managed to reconcile. Now I am his representative. I mentioned you and Julia to my father. He doesn't mind us seeing each other, so I came to find you. Get ready, we are going to my house in the capital. I will introduce you to my father. Julia was sitting with a furrowed brow and remained silent. Then she said, I'm not going anywhere, Miguel. First, my mother is sick and I won't leave her alone for long. And second, I'm pregnant. What do you think? The man's expression changed. How pregnant are you? I don't understand. With whom? Julia couldn't take it anymore. She slapped him and shouted, Idiot! It's from my fiancé, the one who was supposedly with me. It's not what you're insinuating. So you think I'm promiscuous? Then go to hell. Go with your millions. I hate you. Julia ran to her room crying. Miguel, furious, also left. So what? Fine. Goodbye, hysterical girl. The whole entourage left. Jimena put her hands to her heart, realizing that all this conflict had erupted because of her misguided words. It was she who planted doubt in Miguel's mind. How could she fix it? Despite their love, they argued as if they were enemies. 2 weeks passed. Julia was desperate, crying day and night and lamenting. Why did I do this? He came back and I slapped him. I'm a fool. All because of my pride. I should have apologized, kissed him, told him how much I loved him, how much I missed him. What have I done? It's over now. It can't be. Jimena reflected on how to amend her mistakes and made a decision. She found out where the Crespo family lived through acquaintances and prepared to go. She lied to her daughter, saying, Julia, I'm going with your Aunt Renata to the neighboring town, to the hospital. She says a very good doctor is coming, a professor. I would like to have a consultation with him. Maybe he can avoid surgery. Of course you can, Mom, Julia replied. Can you handle it? Should I accompany you to support you? Jimena shook her head. What do you think, daughter? With your condition, you won't get far. You'll exhaust yourself with every step. No, stay at home. Rest. Take care of my granddaughter. But don't cry. It breaks my heart to see you like this. The capital left Tony Talanciana. With difficulty, she found the country mansion of the Crespo family after spending her last savings on a taxi. It was starting to get dark and the dense forests around her frightened her. How will I get back home later? She wondered. She had no money left for the return trip and had to walk 3 kilometers to a public transport stop. She knocked on the door and the dogs barked in the yard. A guard came out of the booth and asked who she was and if that was the correct address. Jimena calmly replied, I would like to see Mr. Crespo or his son Miguel. I have important matters to discuss, a personal issue. Please. The guard radioed the owner, Viviano Crespo. There is an older lady who wants to see you. She says it's something personal and important. Can she come in? On the other end of the line, the owner sighed and authorized her entry to the office. Jimena entered uncomfortably into the luxurious office where a burly man with glasses welcomed her. He invited her to sit down and asked, So, ma'am, what brings you here? Who said you were coming? Jimena introduced herself as Julia's mother and explained the situation. In the end, she apologized and expressed her desire to make amends. The man, understanding, decided to talk to his son and offered to take her to the station to return home. Jimena thanked him for the gesture and felt relieved. With a clear conscience, she returned home. Now she could rest in peace. He did everything possible to reconcile Miguel and Julia and atone for their mistakes. When Miguel came home from work, he was so tired that his only thought was to lie down in bed and fall asleep. But his father was already waiting for him in the hallway. Miguel remembered the look his father had since his childhood, eyebrows furrowed and glasses pushed up on his forehead. It meant that something serious was about to happen. And it did. Viviano said to his son, Let's go to the study, son. We need to talk. Miguel sighed and reluctantly followed him, wondering why he was about to be reprimanded. As soon as the office door closed, his father began to speak seriously. What's going on, Miguel? Do you think my son is a scoundrel and I don't know it? Miguel was taken aback by this turn of events. What are you doing, Dad? What have I done? Is the company okay? Are the agreements okay? I checked them for half a day today. What's wrong with you? The man's tone grew even harsher. Perhaps you know an old woman. Her name is Jimena. A woman came today, crying, begging for your forgiveness. She said you got her daughter pregnant. What is that supposed to mean? If it's true, why are you hiding? What kind of man does that? Miguel fell silent and furrowed his brow. I don't know what to do, Dad. You know, Julia is good, kind. I love her very much. She helped me, sheltered me, otherwise I would have died in the subway. But if she has a mother, she's a snake. She kept telling me that I wasn't right for her, and then she kicked me out. She said Julia was with me for fun, but she had a fiancé, so I was offended. And when last week I decided to approach Julia to make amends, instead of being happy and hugging me, she punched me in the face. It's normal, and for what? Just for asking who is pregnant. Well, I have to be sure it's my child. You never know. The father raised an eyebrow. Oh, Miguel, you fool. I would also like to punch you in the face right now. How can you believe such nonsense and not thoroughly check it? You should have waited for Julia and talked to her clearly. Secondly, think about what 99% of girls would do if they knew you were the son of a millionaire. Yes, they would do everything possible, pretend to be perfect, just to be close to you, right? What did your Julia do? She slapped you in the face and kicked you out. Did she? What does that tell you? That she doesn't care about your money or status. Truth is more important to her. If she's not afraid to bring a homeless person home, defying her mother and fall in love, then it's real, you know? And you start to doubt her. Miguel was completely dejected. It's true. Why didn't I think of that? I had already eaten everything, eaten from the inside out. I'm so in love with her and jealous. Although I don't know who I'm jealous of, I feel so bad without her. She's like my own person. Since I met Julia, I don't want to look at anyone else. What do we do now? Is she too proud? She probably won't forgive me. Viviano laughed. Idiot. Your mother said your girlfriend cries day and night. She doesn't want to see anyone. She washes away the tears, and you say, she won't forgive. Speak to her heart to heart. Honestly, give her a hug. Offer to be your wife. No woman would reject such a thing. What are you trying to do? Deprive your father of his grandchild? Inspired, Miguel bought a huge bouquet of scarlet roses, an expensive cake, which he had dreamed of treating Julia to, and hurried back to her house. He timidly rang the doorbell. Julia's mother answered. She looked very ill and was slightly staggering. The man greeted her. Good afternoon, Jimena. Is Julia here? I need to talk to her. The woman suddenly burst into tears. Hello, Miguel. They took Julia to the hospital half an hour ago. They called an ambulance. She had stomach pains and was bleeding. What a shame. God forbid an abortion. It's her nerves. She's been going crazy. I wanted to go with her too, but the doctor told me not to. My blood pressure has risen. I'm lying down. I'll go see her tomorrow morning. I hope everything is okay. I'll never forgive myself. Miguel turned pale, and his expression changed. You fool, it's all your fault. Which hospital? Give me the address quickly. The man rushed at full speed, not knowing the way. When he burst into the emergency room, the nurses were stunned. It's not every day that the son of Mr. Crespo himself comes to visit us. They often saw Miguel on billboards and magazine covers and immediately recognized him. The man almost shouted, In which room is Julia Hernandez? What's wrong with her? Where's the doctor on duty? She's my fiancée. The staff ran around trying to calm Miguel down. An elderly and tired doctor came out of the waiting room and said seriously, What are you doing here? This is a hospital, not a market, by the way. Julia Hernandez is in room 5. The situation is frankly critical. She's on the verge of collapse, bleeding a lot. We're doing everything we can. Are you the baby's father? Can you donate blood? It would help a lot right now, as the blood loss is significant. Miguel nodded. Yes, anything. As long as Julia and the baby are okay, I'll pay for any medication, the most expensive. Please, let me see her for a second. I have to tell her something. When she hears it, things will get better, I assure you. The doctor wanted to refuse, but he looked into the man's eyes filled with pain and desperation and changed his mind. Fine, Just a couple of minutes, and I'll be waiting." Miguel entered the room quietly. Julia lay there, frightened and pale as a sheet, barely breathing. Paramedics bustled around her, administering injections and a drip of medication. The man approached her, knelt down, and whispered, "Hello, my dear. Forgive me. I've been a fool. I love you more than life. Don't say anything. Conserve your strength and our baby. Let me put my hand on your belly, can I?" He gently placed his hand on her belly, caressed it tenderly, and whispered, "Dear son, I am your father. We want you to know how much we love you and eagerly await your arrival. We need you to be born on time, strong, and healthy." A nurse approached the door and indicated for them to leave. Miguel gently kissed Julia and left, feeling an indescribable emotion within him. Not long ago, he felt overwhelmed and hopeless, but now he was experiencing a warm feeling of happiness and light. He was full of eagerness to live, to love Julia, and to raise their child. Finally, he closed his eyes and fell asleep, trusting that everything would turn out well. He knew he was not alone, that Julia was with him. Miguel donated blood and spent the night awake in the lobby, praying for Julia and the baby's recovery. The next day, the doctor informed him that Julia was stable, but would need to stay under observation for a few more weeks. Miguel thanked the doctor and felt relieved that everything had gone well. After taking care of everything, Miguel was able to visit Julia in her private room. He cared for her with love, giving her massages, caresses, and making sure she was well fed. Julia was grateful for Miguel's and her mother's care. When Miguel was discharged, he moved Julia to his mansion to continue taking care of her. He also made sure Ximena received treatment at a sanatorium. Ximena enjoyed a relaxing vacation thanks to Julia's generosity. Meanwhile, Julia hosted a farewell dinner at the hospital with her colleagues before enjoying a well-deserved break out of town. Miguel took care of her diligently, concerned for her well-being and that of the twins who were on the way. The news of the twins surprised Julia and Miguel, who joyfully welcomed the news. They were excited for the arrival of 2 babies. How thrilling! 2 children at once. Julia was surprised and moved upon hearing the news. How wonderful! 2 babies! What an adventure awaits us. And it turns out there are 2. Will I be able to give birth to both, or will I need an operation? The gynecologist laughed. "Here we go!" The common fears of women. Of course you will be able to give birth without any problems. All your indicators are good, your pelvis is wide, we can do it. Don't worry. We'll just have to go to the hospital a week early. As with twins, births are usually premature and sudden. Everyone at home was surprised. Ximena crossed herself and thought to herself, "Thank God, Julia and Miguel have reconciled. I can't imagine how we would have raised 2 children together." A happy Julia snuggled up next to Miguel and dreamily replied, "See, when I first saw you at the intersection, for some reason I thought, this is my destiny. And I wasn't wrong, was I?" Miguel kissed Julia and replied, "I have thought the same many times. If I hadn't fought with my father and taken the subway, we probably would have never met. I don't regret meeting you. The only thing I regret is being so foolish and worrying my little bunny so much that we almost lost our babies. I'm sorry again. Now I know for sure that, whatever the circumstances, we should always sit down and talk. We still have a lot to learn, as our family has just been formed, but we have a lifetime to do so." Julia was barely coping with her pregnancy. In the end, she could no longer see beyond her nose behind her huge belly. When they took Julia to the hospital, Miguel couldn't find a place as he ran down the hallway twisting his hands and worried. Ximena was also praying. Looking at her huge belly, Viviano couldn't understand how women could give birth, especially when 2 were born at once. Fortunately, everything went perfectly. Julia insisted that only Ramon Reyes would attend the delivery. She trusted him 100%. She knew he wouldn't do anything wrong. When they handed her 2 crying, wet, and exhausted babies, she even cried with joy. The emotions were so intense. At that moment, Julia felt like the happiest woman on the planet. Ramon Reyes leaned towards her and said softly, "Do you remember what I promised you? That when you became a mother, you would be so happy that all other problems and worries would become so small and insignificant. Was I right then?" Julia smiled happily. "You were absolutely right. Thank you, Ramon Reyes, for everything. You are more than a doctor. You have become like a father to me during this time. Thank you very much. There were many people at Martina and Martine's baptism. Press, journalists, we invited Viviano Crespo and all our acquaintances. The party was for everyone. Everyone admired the little angels smiling peacefully in their cradle and wished happiness and good luck to the happy family. If you enjoyed the story, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel.